Hi everyone, Christian here from CK Wraps. Today, or over the course of the next couple of days, we're going to be wrapping my mom's car. It's a Hyundai Accent. It's a belated birthday gift. We're doing this in vivid red chrome. It's going to look pretty awesome when it's done. She always wanted red, and I don't know why she bought white, but we're going to do it up in red, but something a little fancier. So I started by prepping the surface of the vehicle with isopropyl alcohol. I've blown away all the contaminants with an air compressor to make sure that we're not drawing in any debris or particles that are sitting around in like the grill, wiper blades, any of that stuff. So that when we remove the backing, it draws a lot of static in. It's going to start pulling in debris from the surrounding area. So I have my compressor here. Just shoot it off quickly with some compressed air. Make sure that's all good. What I've also done is I've used Tack Reducer. Vivid makes this. It's actually fantastic when you're working with chrome because you will kind of need to be really careful with chrome when it comes to repositioning, especially this chrome. It doesn't like to be repositioned too much. If the temperature is hot, it's going to bond very quickly. The adhesive itself is heat activated, so if you're working in a hot environment, I'd say it's probably about 80, 85 in here, it's going to start to bond right away. So we want to make sure that it's not sticking too much. The vinyl will cure over a 48-hour period of time, but this is fantastic stuff. So just so you can see, so I just dab a little bit on a cloth, just a little bit of a dab, and wipe it on any kind of large contact point of the panel. It's especially good on the hood, the roof, horizontal surfaces where the vinyl actually just sits there. If the vinyl is draped down the side like a fender, you don't really need it because the vinyl is actually more relaxed. With the vinyl sitting across the hood right now, or when we do put it on the hood, it's going to want to bond. Just because of the pressure and gravity, obviously, on top of that, it's going to draw the vinyl towards the hood. While we have it down the fender, it's not going to be drawing the vinyl towards the fender. So what I've done is I've already prepared and cut the size of vinyl that I need to lay on the hood. It's a pretty large hood. I've measured the hood across first. It's about 65 inches. I cut 69 inches. What you can see here is that this is an official Vivid product. It says Vivid XPO series on the backing. You want to make sure that you do have a good quality product. Otherwise, you probably got something that isn't going to work very well and may end up harming the paint down the road. We're going to take this vinyl, drape it across the hood, get it into position. Which way do I want to do this? Let's get it set up. Hood's magnetic, so have your magnets handy. These are your third hands, or second set of hands if you're doing this alone. I am doing this alone. We're going to trim off whatever is excess here along the bottom once we get this into position. So generally when we're installing this hood right now, a lot of the same principles are going to apply. Obviously, the chrome is a little bit more fragile and delicate, so we have to be a little extra cautious when it comes to installing this. It does come with a protective capping on it, which I'm going to remove right now. So as we can just kind of lift it off. I believe this is more so for shipping purposes than it is for installation purposes. I've tried installing it with this cap on. It works horribly. If this capping doesn't stretch, it doesn't move, what happens is that it starts to wrinkle up and then it causes damage on the chrome. So we need to remove this. Try to stick your garbage in a place that's out of the way. Make sure you have your buffer and squeegee. Have a fresh buffer on here. Fresh blade. I use 9mm 30-degree blades. You can buy them on Amazon. They're antique cutter blades. What I'm also going to use to apply this film is Vivid Shield Guard. So what this does is going to protect it from harm and damage that may come from the buffer, even though this is a fresh buffer and we did remove the capping, which does ensure that there's no dust on this surface. It can still scratch it. So we have to be very careful. What this is going to do is going to create a polymer layer between the film and the buffer, and the squeegee is going to glide really, really nicely across the surface area, making the installation super easy. So what I want to do is trim off the excess vinyl here. I should be using a snitty. I don't have one. I lost it. I keep losing them. Just make sure that when you're cutting, you're not cutting into the paint. Always cut yourself a little bit extra. Making sure that we're leaving room. Here's the edge of the hood. We're making sure that we're leaving room to put our hands underneath the vinyl right here. This piece is just going to be a scrap piece. We may use this for mirrors, door handles. Not too much else other than that. But it's a good piece to have, so save it. Save whatever pieces you can until you're finished the entire wrap. Then you can discard of everything that you don't need afterwards. Some pieces will be too small to use for anything. You can always start wrapping stuff around small things, your cell phone, whatever, laptops, found all kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scrap, tape it shut, stick it in the car for now. Another key tool to have during the installation is a wrap glove. Wrap gloves are fantastic. They're heat resistant, so when we do go over the edges with the heat gun to obviously post heat everything on the edges, this is going to protect your hand from burning. It's also going to make it so that your hand glides, your fingers glide really nicely across that edge, that corner edge. Otherwise, your finger and vinyl is essentially plastic, can get stuck and the vinyl could bunch up. Buffers that I use on my squeegees are monkey strips. These are great buffers. They're designed by Justin Pate, I believe. You can buy them at monkeystrips.com or even on their Facebook page. They have one as well. They're very reasonably priced. I think I buy about 75 or 100 at a time for about $50, so less than $1 a strip. So we're going to start by removing the backing right now. We're going to roll the backing off the film. The reason why we need to roll the backing off the film is so that we don't create any creasing or bunching in the chrome. Any creasing or bunching in the chrome can cause a lot of damage to it. So we have to make sure that we're being extra gentle and extra cautious when it comes to the removing of the backing. You may ask why I didn't cut away the section up here where the window is. I keep it on there to keep the vinyl more uniform when removing the backing. It just keeps it nice and straight. You can get that off of here. We'll stick a magnet down there. That's on the fender right now. So we're going to try and grab the backing and roll it right off. This is a lot easier to do when you have multiple people. And I'm rolling, as you notice, I'm rolling the backing off on the vehicle. So we're ensuring that we're not drawing in any particles from the exterior as well. Okay, that part's done. Like I said, with chrome, that's a very key component, making sure that we're not damaging the film when we're removing the backing. I'm going to take our backing paper, fold it up, it takes up less space, stick it in a recycling bin or however way you decide to discard it. I recycle the backing paper. You may not be able to do so in the US, I'm not sure, but in Canada we recycle a lot of things, so I recycle that all the time. What we need to do right now is glass the film. The film is going to stretch very easily because the temperature is very warm in here right now. So we're going to be able to stretch the film pretty much without any heat. So I'm going to get this into position. It's obviously really wrinkled up right now and we need to flatten that out before we start squeegeeing anything. So pull consistently top and bottom. finish. The finish of this film is gorgeous. Stick that on the window. Another reason why I don't cut out the window, just makes it a little bit easier to flatten it out there. Stick a magnet down here because we're going to be pulling from the opposite side. We haven't actually put any pressure down on the vinyl yet, so this isn't really bonding. So we got to make sure that when we go to reposition this side, that we're not going to rip off the entire piece of vinyl and it's going to go flying and cause damage to it or pick up particles, etc. So we're going to be really careful. Make sure you stick the opposite side down with magnets. As you can see, it's pretty easy to glass. I haven't even used a heat gun yet. Not that challenging. This is very flexible vinyl. I'd probably say it's one of the most flexible vinyls on the market right now. If you have any questions about this film being laminated, it is laminated. I usually just get the Chrome Wraps glass coated, which creates a pretty awesome barrier, low maintenance as far as washing goes, etc., etc. Great stuff, especially on wraps. When we're repositioning this film, it's going to be really quick pulse, really quick yanks up. Like I said, use the tack reducer, it makes this a lot easier. Okay, so we've got all this glassed here. We're going to start applying pressure to the film to start laying this. I'm going to start using some Vivid Shield Guard, just going to mist that on there a bit. That's about all we need. Start from the center. I just work my way to the edges. So if you notice, when I was glassing the film and I was making it smooth on the surface of this area, I went to this corner, that corner, and that corner. Did a little bit in the front as well to even it out. But these are basically your triangles. Justin Pates explained this before in some of his videos if you ever watched them. So it's nothing new. It's a great technique. It separates different areas in order to get the vinyl smooth and ready for your installation before you start squeegeeing it. So we're going to apply a generous amount of pressure. We want to make sure that we're removing all the air from underneath this film. When it comes to squeegeeing, you don't necessarily need to squeegee in triangles, especially when the film's already flat on a surface like this. It's really not necessary at all. The triangles technique is more so for me when it comes to glassing the film. I'm not sure if that was ever explained in his videos, but yeah, I just use the triangle technique to glass the film. So I'm just going to go back and forth with the squeegee, keeping it on a nice sharp angle. I only overlap about 1.5 inches. This is a 4-inch squeegee. I only overlap about 2 inches, so half of the squeegee is still on the surface that I've just laid down with the squeegee, and the other half of the squeegee is going over the unfinished surface of the film. So only use about half of the squeegee at once. We're going to need to apply heat eventually for this curved area down here, and I'm going to show you when I get to that area there. Got some wrinkles here that I didn't want to go over until I repositioned the film a little bit. Just kind of put my hand underneath it, but not actually underneath where the vinyl is going to stick. As that. So this whole area is finished right now. what we need to do is finish off the rest of the hood. This is kind of the hard part for this hood right here. So it does curve around like this and comes down. Got to make sure we're taking our stretch properly across this area here in order to not distort or haze the film. This part would be much easier with a gloss film, but like I said, these same principles apply whether it's gloss or chrome, just that the chrome requires a little bit more of a delicate handling. So one thing not to do is put this spray on areas that you're going to heat. Spray it on the buffer instead. Can't stick it up there yet. Spray it on the buffer instead, because what happens is if we put this solution on top of the film and then heat it, it's going to cause dimples in the film. I've tried it, it's happened to me. Just take my word for it. You can try it if you want on your own small piece, but I'm telling you it will happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my heat gun and have it set on high. I'm going to heat just ever so slightly around this area and pull out at the same time. I'm going to start squeezing this down a little bit here. We're basically getting this film into position. Work consistently across. Just want to push it pretty aggressively here. I'm not overstretching this film at all. What I'm trying to do is set the film up into position to eliminate the wrinkles before I get to the edge. By keeping your hand under the backing and pulling out, creates tension on the film, and it makes the wrinkles a lot easier to squeegee out. And when we're squeegeeing, we're kind of like, when we have these fingers, is what I like to call them, fingers in the film. You kind of want to pull on the film here, because here's the edge of the car, here's the edge of the hood. Pull on the film here, pull hard enough, and then slice those fingers with the buffer and the squeegee. So we're kind of cutting across them. You don't want to push down on them. What will happen is when we push down on them, they're going to start bunching up. So we need to basically cut across them. So I'll go over the edge with a little bit of heat. Once we trim everything off, I'm going to go over all the edges again and post-heat all that to make sure that we have a nice, durable, strong finish around the edges. So same principle that I did on this side applies to this side. I'm going to finish this side off right now. We're going to trim up the hood, and that is it. So keep watching if you want to watch the entire process of beginning to end. This shouldn't take too much longer. I know you guys can't see from over there. when we're heating chrome, we're always taking the stretch from the largest possible area. Concentrating the heat in one area is going to cause damage to the film. As simple as that. You're going to end up overstretching it and just stuck to the headlight here and causing damage to it. Or you're going to overheat it and cause damage to it just by heating it. So two things can happen when we're heating chrome. One, you can burn it right off the bat. Second, you can heat it and soften it too much, and then when you go to pull it, it's too soft and you stretch it too far and you haze the finish or crack it. One or the other. Once you learn how to install this chrome, by far it's the best bang for the buck. Comes 60 inches. There isn't really anything else that comes 60 inches. Maybe Arlon does. Arlon also has its own issues with adhesive, so I don't really trust that. But and it is a lot more expensive than Vivid's chrome. I know Vivid could be charging a lot more for this film, so take advantage of it while it is inexpensive, because it may not be that way forever. I'm going to get the hood ready to lift. I have to cut this back area here and all across the window. So I use my finger, my blade resting on my middle finger, and then put my middle finger on the edge of the panel. And then I don't have 3 inches of blade sticking out, I just have one click and trim this off very carefully. Always try to use something as a guide so that you don't slip. Now that I'm right-handed, I'm going to be coming across to the other side. I'm going to use my other hand as a guide. Just going to lift it off of the A-pillar. I'm not going to trim that yet. So I want to make sure that my corners are super nice. And in order to do that, we need to have a little bit of excess film. All right. Let's lift the hood. Make sure nothing's sticking right now. Get the wrap glove. This is the time for that. So we're going to go over every edge with the heat gun. We're going to take our time. We're going to go over it a couple of times. When it comes to the corners, it'll take time to start getting better at doing them. I push down and around on the corners. Creates a nice round corner, and I trim fairly close in the end once I'm all finished. Not leaving too much excess to bunch up and cause that bottle cap looking effect that you might see on some other wraps that you've seen around. When it comes to doing corners also, for those of you guys who are perfectionists and like them looking really neat, you can't stretch this film and then have the memory pull it back around the corner itself once you heat it. We have to actually just round the film off around the corner and trim very closely. That's the only acceptable technique in my opinion on how to use this properly as far as installing chrome goes on and making your corners look good. You will damage the film if you try to lift that corner up, stretch it out, put it down, squeegee all the air out again, and then try to heat shrink it around that corner. It's just not going to work. So don't do that. You can try it for yourself though. Once I'm all done, I'll show you how everything looks. So again, I'm going to go back. I'm only putting this around the edge, just up until around the pinch weld, an eighth to possibly a quarter of an inch. We don't need to wrap underneath the hood an inch. It's just going to be ridiculous when you go to remove it down the road. And it's just overkill for the installation. All right, time to trim it all off. Please work on your cutting skills before you get into doing full cars, unless you're doing your own car. Practice on whatever you can. Just don't practice on other people's cars. Cutting is probably one of the most important aspects of the entire installation. People are coming in to get their cars wrapped and protected at the same time. You start cutting people's paint, we're going to have issues down the road when they go to remove it. They're going to be very upset. Whether you plan to be in business or not, that's a different story. But we do this for obviously the long haul, longevity, and durability. Now, for those of you who may have a question if knifeless tape cuts this film, it does. It doesn't fray it. Cuts it really, really, really straight. Not like Avery, where it'll start to fray when you use Knifeless or even Arlon or Hexus. It'll all start to fray. This does not fray. So again, we're being very gentle. Pretty much trying to bang out this entire piece in one go. We don't want to be lifting the blade off of the card consistently all the time. What that does is it creates an uneven cut on the backside. And then a lot of people do look at that nowadays. So, you know, for those of you who think that, oh, they're never going to see it, well, guess again, people are looking. So, having nice straight lines on the opposite edge is really important. Missed a spot here. Again, see I started it again, but I use my finger as a guide to make sure that line is nice and straight. So now that that is finished, again with a post heat around all the edges. Okay, it's finished. So what I'm going to do is clean it off, because right now it doesn't look very nice with the shield guard on it. And then I'm going to show you the back side of the edge here, so that you can see everything's nice and straight. And then I'm going to show you the surface on the top. So that you can see that there's no distortion, no scratching, no hazing, none of that stuff. The only thing that you will see are minor stone chips. So if you have to ask that, if anyone ever asks that question, yeah, you'll see some minor stuff. It's typical with any vehicle. If the cars hit the highway at least one time, there's bound to be a couple of tiny, tiny stone chips. But we've ensured that there's no particles on the surface of the hood by blowing it off with a compressor. Okay. Nothing to really see on this side, just a slight bit. dust. I dropped the hood. I'd say that's pretty damn clear. Stuff looks great. No distorting, no hazing. Especially around that bend there. You want to see the corners? What these look like from the exterior. But everything looks good. So as you can see, we're just getting started. I'm going to try to do most of the panels on this vehicle so that everyone can see. I do want you to follow along, so if you're interested in seeing more, please click follow. And for those of you who are already following and want to know more, I appreciate you following, and please stay tuned because there's lots more to show. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is how to wrap the hood of a car in chrome, but the same basic principles apply to mostly any film that you'll use. Thanks guys, Christian signing off. CK Wraps, take care.